Hello friends and welcome back to the Indiana Esports Network. My name is Nyarko here with Cherry J, and we are about to dive into our inaugural League of Legends game, and I cannot be more excited. Cherry J, we've connected once or twice in the past over a game of League of Legends ourselves, but this is definitely a new environment for both of us. Diving on into, I believe, high school League of Legends already. We heard tell across the way about some interesting matchups from lane to lane, but what are you looking forward to and how you feeling today?
Yeah, I'm really excited for this matchup. We're coming into one of the stronger teams in the league with a couple of plat players on their team, which is something that I haven't seen in high school League of Legends in a while. That is going to be the Ben Davis High School Varsity League of Legends team with a 3-0 record coming up against Penn League of Legends. You know, personally, Ben Davis High School, based on at least what I've heard, what I've seen, they have a lot stronger than most high school leagues in the country. I mean, me personally, I do host my own high school league for League of Legends specifically, and I cannot say that I've ever seen a team that has more promising players than them specifically. So we'll see whether or not they can bring that forward in this match. But coming at us, we're going to be going straight on into the draft in just a moment here. Nyarko, what do you expect to see with a couple changes coming in the meta recently? How do you feel that this could affect what the teams will decide to play today?
Well, given the way that this matchup is looking from just the outset, what I think, Cherry, we're going to be seeing is maybe not in the first game, but at least throughout the rest of this best of two series, meaning that we're going to be playing both games regardless of who's picking them up. What I'm looking at here is probably people just going towards what they want to play and what they want to show off on stream as well, which could be a little bit separate from what is in the meta. So I'm looking for power picks for individually strong players that can put away a victory, but beyond that, it's people having fun and want to strut their stuff. So we could be seeing anything all the way from Rengar all the way down to a Yuumi.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say that specifically that Yuumi pick, I wouldn't be surprised if we see it, since if there are some lower elo players in the lobby, they definitely would want to opt in for someone that can be piloted a little bit more simply and a little bit easier than some of the more difficult support champions in the game, such as Renata Glass, such as someone like Teraku, has been getting a little bit of play time, especially we saw him, I believe, at Worlds recently during the Swiss stage. So we'll see whether or not any of those picks will come out a little bit more complex characters in bot lane, but something that really is going to matter, especially if this does end up being a little bit of a lower elo lobby, is going to be we need to watch out for those junglers who really can close the gap between those 1v1s and turn it into a 2v1.
Absolutely the case. I'm really happy you mentioned Tarek, by the way, Terry, because I think that this is the sleeper strongest support in the entire game. When I was looking at the draft for game number 5 of Worlds Finals, I was actually thinking that Keria could have pivoted and picked the Tarek. I thought it was very good into the engage that was being brought by BLG to the table, but alas, you know, he actually flexed over to that Poppy. But that shows just the diversity of the meta right now. Obviously, there are those power picks that we've been seeing time and time again. You know, we talked about the few things that showed up during the Swiss stage, but what showed up throughout all of Worlds, stuff like the Yone, right? And I think that there's definitely a chance that we see something as flashy as that champion being locked in here, particularly by Ben Davis. But on the other side of the coin, Cherry, you're also mentioning, well, you know, Penn, even though they're 0-1 right now, they're smart players. They definitely have done their scouting. They've done their research versus Ben Davis. They know that they will have to just play consistently, try to bring a unified front to the table, and therefore I do think that stuff like this Yuumi that you're talking about could be a big pick. Garen in the top side could also be something you want to focus on. Just easy to execute champions alongside an easy to execute gameplay, and I want to clear define front to back, and I want to see people build towards the skill set necessary to navigate 5v5s, navigate some of these more dicey macro situations really well. But regardless, that is still all up in the air. Both of the teams still ready and raring to go, trying to get that draft underway. But in the meantime, Cherry, I think it's probably best that we think at least one of our sponsors here, starting off, of course, with ZOTAC. These guys have been with us throughout so many different broadcasts throughout IEN, Wasia, and beyond. They are the people who provide so much in the way of manpower, firepower, hardware, everything to these kinds of streams. So let's make sure that we show our appreciation to them. You can use the hashtag powered by ZOTAC or ZOTAC USA when you shout them out on social media. Make sure that you also drop a follow and check out their Discord as well. There's so much good stuff happening there. Type !ZOTAC in the chat for more info.
Yeah, absolutely. We do love the sponsors coming in clutch, supporting the players, supporting the producers, and everyone else involved in these streams. So we gotta give them the praise needed. Coming into this draft, though, we're going to look to see, as you said, that best of 2 format. So potentially wanting to start off with some simple picks to just get yourselves through, and then Match number 2, potentially go for some counterplay. If you saw something come through that you really don't want to deal with, make sure to ban that away just in case, you don't want to get that same problem dealt with, especially if you are on that lower elo team. There's a player who can't be shut down. You really do need to find a way to take them off the board and be able to close the gap between you and your opponents very quickly.
So I guess for me, Cherry, one of the things that we heard back behind the scenes is that we got an iron player on one side in one of these lanes versus a platinum player. And I don't really want to speculate too much about who it is or what lane they're going to be in, but this does bring me back to a very classic thought experiment, I guess you could say, within the realm of League of Legends, which is, let's just say that it's Worlds Finals, Game 5, and a team has lost one of their players, and they're coming to you, and they're like, Cherry J, you are going to have to play in Worlds Finals. What champion are you drafting in each of these roles to try to limit the potential that they just lose straight through you on your side of the map?
I mean, you really need, you need engage. That's something that you really should be looking for. So some good options that both these teams will want to look for is the Jax, is the Renekton, something like that. Renekton, a very good pick for being able to capitalize on the grubs, playing well for that, especially. Jax, a very good split pusher, can be really proficient in team fights as well, with that E ulting right on top of the enemies, getting some good damage in early. It's just a strong pick in general. Some other good options definitely would include something like the Gnar, since there is just so much play that you can do. Obviously, we saw it as one of, if not the most picks at Worlds, I believe. It was definitely in the top 3 somewhere. I don't know, especially in the bot lane, though, you really want to go for that engage as well. Obviously, the team with a little bit more experience is probably going to be more likely to go with something like the Rel with the Nautilus, something like that to kind of close the gap between the bot laners and find that entry into the turret and potentially go for some early dive kills. But we'll just have to wait and see what these teams do decide to go with here.
Yeah, I definitely think that engage is going to be a big thing, and going back to this thought experiment, right? It'd be pretty easy for you to say, you know what? I'm going to start the fight. Everybody else can finish it. I'm just going to YOLO and see what happens. So that could definitely be an option if we see a particular elo mismatch from lane to lane. And given the record that Ben Davis has and the kind of prospects that they're building up, Cherry J, that could definitely be one of the places where we're going to have to look to see how exactly Penn will respond. Now, across the rest of the board, looking at that mid lane, I think that this is going to be a place where you're going to get a lot of contested picks. This could be the highest prio, as, especially as we move towards this kind of unknown variable of how IEN and the level of play coming out IEN is going to function. We could be looking at people just trying to shove, looking to roam, affect either the Void Grub pit, which is then going to turn to the Herald, then the Baron pit, or you're looking to go down bot side trying to affect something with the Dragon. I wonder if, because that is the case, we're almost going to be purely looking at some of these more standard mages. I'm thinking of Orianna. I think Ziggs could also be potentially very good, has flex potential to the bot side as well. Those are things that I'm looking out for. But yeah, top, I think that you've already lined out. We're probably going to be seeing something like Renekton, a Jax. I still think Garen is definitely on the table if you just are not comfortable in this role. And then for support, I would really love to see something like that Nautilus.
Yeah, definitely would be a very common pick to see that Nautilus come through. A lot of CC available. The hook definitely strong, and it definitely gives the opportunity to go for an invade early on, finding some damage, inflicting potentially the first blood to your opponents if one of these teams does decide to go with it. We'll just have to wait and see what they do end up moving towards in the draft. But personally, I'd say that the Nautilus could definitely be that factor, since if you're able to get that opening pick, if you are a stronger team, that could easily just kind of snowball into a win if you end up allowing that mid laner or top laner to get that kill and get some early gold advantage, especially if it's a character that can really rely on something like a ruby crystal to get that extra HP off early with the 400 gold that you do get from the first blood. It definitely could end up being a situation where that alone could cause the game to end.
Absolutely. And, you know, talking about those supports, stuff like the Nautilus, you also mentioned that Rel a little bit earlier. That is one character I'm a little bit more iffy having newer players on, because even though her kit is very simple, we saw it in grand finals at Worlds, right? On was whiffing those Qs, whiffing those Ws. She actually has surprisingly tough to hit abilities, and that could be a big obstacle in actually getting a reliable angle for one of these teams to make an advantage off of. So we're gonna be watching it on that way. Looks like we're getting some pings from the chat right now, getting new picks and bans going on our side. We haven't quite gotten to the draft just yet, as everybody is still prepping on that front, but what that does give us is a little bit of time to shout out another one of our sponsors here. Of course, looking at this matchup once again, it's Ben Davis High School Varsity versus Penn League of Legends to start us off, broadcasting league for IEN. And helping us along that front, of course, is going to be LANFest. Thanks to LANFest for building healthy communities through gaming, with 23 chapters across 18 states and over 150 events a year. You can find an event near you at lanfest.com, and we're finally into it. Cherry J, we are here ready to see what the strategy is going to be out of these two teams. Penn on blue, Ben Davis on red.
Yeah, Penn, what will they opt in? They do get that blue side, as you said, a little bit of a stronger start. Darius going to be the opening ban here, trying to target the top lane immediately. Ben Davis responding with a Morgana ban, a little bit interesting, trying to move towards the supports and potentially jungler ban rather than going for the same approach that Penn is going to be going with. That Misfortune going to be their second option, looking to try and take out some of the more stronger bot laners when it comes to just being able to get that early damage off with some lethality potentially, and then Hecarim to be the end. Hecarim's been approaching that meta very fast, with a lot of damage items being taken off the board in the meta recently, being nerfed like crazy. There's going to be Penn also locking in the Yuumi, like we said earlier.
This is 100% what you're expecting out of this level of gameplay, where people are banning the things that they're afraid of. They are jamming the things that are reliable. Yuumi being the highest prio we've seen in years. I remember when this was actually a pretty common thing to see in pro play, Cherry, but that is kind of off the table. Smolder going to be the response. I actually really like this call. Yuumi is basically giving an open bot lane for Ben Davis. If they can play this and control the tempo of the game well, they will have the opportunity to scale up into an absolute monster. This is, of course, also the flex potential into the mid lane here. Now, I do think that what we are seeing out of Ben Davis knocking out the Viego Kane and also the Morgana can't flex into the jungle is just, perhaps that is Penn's strongest player. That is something that they're trying to focus down. We'll have to watch out what the dynamic is going to be, if they're going to continue to pinch or whether or not Penn is going to actually grab something for that role here. But now we're getting the Lux on top of the Yuumi. This is pretty interesting. You usually don't see the double stack of the mages this early into the game. Kennen, though, going to be grabbed for Ben Davis probably on the top side.
Yeah, I was a little bit surprised. Most likely going to be Lux in the mid lane, potentially going to flex it on bot side, but there's going to be the Kha'Zix coming out as the third pick from Penn, looking to get a jungler who can potentially get that snowballing factor on lock, with the lethality definitely going to be that must-have for Penn. And there's the Nautilus to combine with most likely the Smolder, a strong bot lane coming out from Ben Davis, with a little bit of a weaker position in Penn, with only their Yuumi being on lock. You approach Ben Davis' squad, they're very well rounded with that Kennen, with that Smolder, with the CC as well. It's definitely going to be looking good, but compared to Penn, they kind of are just like, it's a very squishy just in general style, because now they need to get some kind of tank in the lobby, which is gonna really have to come down to their top lane. They can't expect a bot laner to be playing somebody who does have a lot more HP and can tank a lot more bullets. There's gonna be the Mordekaiser taken off the table, which is a really good pick from Ben Davis, in my opinion, since you want to take out simple tanks. You want to potentially pair this with a Malphite ban, potentially to take out some more early. Yeah, Tahm Kench makes a lot of sense. I was thinking it would either be like Tahm Kench, Malphite, or potentially something else that just is a very easy character to just kind of control and take off the board. Interesting seeing a Caitlyn ban. They're expecting this Smolder to be played mid. We'll see what their final ban is going to be. And there's the Nico as well coming out. Definitely an interesting idea from them.
It could be the case that they don't know where the Smolder is going, so they said, well, we're going to ban one bot laner, one mid laner. Maybe that it means we're going to cover at least one of the roles. I do find this Mordekaiser ban a little bit interesting, because Ben Davis, I think, generally has been drafting a bit more strategically, but why deny another source of magic damage from Penn when you could probably just build against that pretty cleanly with this composition? Udyr are going to be grabbed here, most likely going into that jungle role. I really like this call. It's going to be a reliable frontliner alongside this Nautilus to push back against Penn. And now we're in dire straits. Blue squad, 1 pick left. They need to get a tank under their belt. And so far, they basically only have magic damage plus the Kha'Zix.
Yeah, definitely an interesting. Okay, so I guess that's what like Lux bot then, maybe Malzahar bot, to try and really give some magic penetration over towards Ben Davis, force them to take some. It's kind of okay. Yeah, actually, I really like this last pick, taking the Galio for the mid lane. Going to definitely be one of the stronger picks you could take here, since they realize the fact that the majority of Penn's damage in general is going to be coming off of AP scalers. While, I mean, the Scion, it's definitely a good pick to come into this, to have that tank and to have a little bit more CC, since Yuumi doesn't give much. Lux has the Q, but that's about it. And, I mean, obviously Malzahar has the ult, but that doesn't give a lot of CC comparatively to what we see from Ben Davis, where they still have the Udyr, they have the Galio, they have the Nautilus, and that just kind of gives them a lot more ability to really punish the aggression that would be pulled out by Penn.
Yeah, I hate to say it, Cherry J, but right now, this is kind of looking like it's going to be a clobbering. Ben Davis High School have done so well throughout their 5-stack to build a really incredibly strong team, and it looks like it is, in fact, going to be that Smolder on that bot side. Match it up against Malzahar Yuumi, of all things. Now, I think Spell Shield is going to be valuable in that Nautilus cannot immediately get valuable hooks off, but Smolder's poke is usually enough to be able to take that away because of the range that this champion can play at, and so I still don't think that this bot side for Penn is quite out of the woods just yet. And you look across the rest of the map, this is counter matchup after counter matchup. Udyr going to be able to resist Kha'Zix burst if they ever meet 1v1. Of course, Kennen avoidant enough to probably be able to play away from the Scion. I don't think there's much kill potential for either side on the top side of the map. And then mid lane, Galio is the ultimate anti-mage going up against, well, one of the purest mages in the game.
Yeah, I mean, we're going straight on in. We'll see whether or not that this AP heavy draft is going to be working in the favor of this Penn League of Legends squad against Ben Davis, who really is going to be relying on that Galio to kind of pressure all of that AP, to kind of be just forced away from them. But we'll see how this is going to go. But originally, I mean, I think I'm going to stick with my original thought process here. Ben Davis going to have a clean map, number one. What do you think, though?
100%. Like I said, I'm expecting that this is going to be a clobbering. The real question is how much fun Ben Davis wants to have with it. You know, are we going for tower dives? Are we trying to perfect game here? What exactly is going to be the dynamic? Now, maybe Penn League of Legends is sandbagging here. You can win with any composition at this level, even up against platinum players. There is a potential for Penn's team to work, but you need this Kha'Zix to be hyper accelerated. You have to play that Mr. Blue Bandit is going to be able to put the team on the buggy back in the early game. Maybe from there, if you stabilize by bursting out the Smolder and putting them incredibly far behind, Kennen is also out of the game, you can then focus your damage upon Galio, because you really need to be able to kill this relatively tanky champion, given the fact that Malzahar and Lux will have no opportunity with which to do so. Maybe if you open things up in that way, Scion is going to be able to split push, and Random Spade can bring their team to victory, but this is certainly a tough one early on for Penn. Now, overall, though, as we are waiting for the spectator delay, I do want to congratulate both of the teams for taking this step forward into the realm of League of Legends. It is a scary place to be here on the Rift with so many different champions flying left, right, and center. Anybody in high school who is looking to continue to develop their arc in esports definitely should have a little bit of League under the belt, in my opinion, as it is one of those peak esports games that will always be talked about for the rest of the time in which we are in this industry. But let's just say that some of these players want to play esports in college. Now there's a way to search through hundreds of collegiate esports programs, what games they play, and even what majors that they offer, Cherry J. So if you are interested, make sure to check out portal.leagueos.gg to search, and IEN students can also sign in to manage their own prospect pages and automatically update themselves match over match. There are scholarships out there for players as well as shoutcasters, social media managers, and beyond, and verified college esports coaches are searching the LOS portal now for promising prospects and reaching out day after day. So make sure to use the League OS portal if you're interested in a future with collegiate esports.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely something that most people in this game could be considering right now with this game getting started, though. We'll see whether or not that's going to be enough to really give some shining through to any collegiate contracts. But I mean, immediately, I don't know. I think that this could definitely lead to some opportunities for some of these teams in this league, especially if you look at this Davis squad. They're 3-0 already. They're looking to make it 4-0. Obviously, Penn hasn't had a great start, but, you know, if they can bring it back, if they can bring it forward here, bring a win under their belt against a Titan school like Ben Davis, that can definitely show that these players do have potential and that they do have the just in general fortitude to take on these bigger and stronger teams than themselves in this David versus Goliath matchup.
Yep, definitely agree with that. I think that Penn, like I said before, have not put anything out onto the Rift just yet. We could have our expectations completely swerved here. Ben Davis Esports certainly going to be an incredibly tough test here to see if they can notch a win on the board. About to dive into this one. Very, very excited to see how things start off.
Yeah, straight away, I don't know. I think that this kind of could just be a little bit of a rough start, though, because Penn, they need to find a way to avoid some early damage with this kind of rough composition that doesn't have a lot of peel for this Lux especially. So we'll see whether or not they're going to get invaded. I personally think that it's most likely going to be the case. So you probably are going to want to have your junglers start blue side and path downwards over towards the bot lane. If you are Penn, since they are starting on the blue side of the map, they would want to go for their blue buff most likely. We'll see whether or not they do in fact end up going for it. Obviously, it's the most safe route compared to what could potentially be happening, but we will just have to wait and see.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, what I do think comes out of this is the constant adage that we look at here in IEN and WASIA as well. There's no winners and no losers. There are just people who are learning time and time again. Now, of course, doing that through a win is obviously quite valuable. And in fact, we are going to get ourselves started off here in a laning phase where no casualties were to be had during that first initial start to the game. So not really leveraging, oh, that is a Japanese name on that Nautilus. I cannot pronounce that one, but we're going to call him the Nautilus for now for Ben Davis High School.
Yeah, Penn, they're already taking some good damage on the top lane, bringing this fellow Kennen to a little bit of a rough start, but the Galio going to take a little bit of damage from the opposing jungler in Mr. Blue Bandit. There's going to be the dive coming in immediately here, looking to take down Honeybees.
Oh, they're dead.
But instead, ooh.
I don't know exactly what the call was there from the Nautilus, going in that deep and then hesitating under the tower. Maybe was looking for another auto attack or something like that, but little YY just wanted to push the wave, and that makes a lot of sense for the Smolder in this situation. Not a whole lot of kill potential for either of these players, and now the dynamic is that Honeybee is up a kill there on the bot side of the map. I don't know if it's possible for our observer to maybe swap the Lux and the Malzahar on the scoreboard, but that will just provide a little bit more clarity here. Lux was forced to back notably. It looks like for the time being, Happy Foxy Sherd is just going to sit there.
That really is a rough situation for Ben Davis High School. Immediately getting a little bit too aggressive there. Getting that early damage is going to be definitely good for the Penn League squad, but there's going to be the stun coming in, but it's just more damage going in the favor of Penn with 2 turret shots hitting over towards this Udyr. But looks like there's been a little bit of a misplay with Mr. Above All getting taken off the health, and there's going to be a little bit of damage to trade it out, but not enough to think it's going to be good still. There's some damage coming out once more. The axe comes swinging down, unable to find a kill, but still making this Kennen back off.
This is a great position here for Penn League of Legends, especially on the top side. Random Spade has the teleport available, while Me Above All actually decided to go for the barrier. And what this means in terms of the dynamic of trade is up top side is that if this cannon is ever in a health deficit, Random Spade can get a ton of damage onto the tower. And in fact, we do see the cannon reset up there. I was a little bit worried about Mr. Blue Bandit being able to make a big statement early, especially after they were called out by Inkay in the mid lane. But even after they were taunted up and took a little bit of chip, they slunk back to their jungle. They found a new angle in, and right now, although Ben Davis is clearly showing their ability to win raw 1v1s and 2v2s, they seem to be a little bit less aware about how to coordinate for large-scale plays. What we actually saw was JSay here on this Udyr engaging too deep mid lane, losing their flash. Luckily, we'll get the consolation prize of a kill on the top side, tying up the kill score here, flashing the mastery on top of it all.
Yeah, able to even it out in the kills. With a 7.7 gold lead for Ben Davis High School, though, you really can't even begin to think that this is even with almost a 1k gold advantage over their opponents. There's going to be a little bit of aggression coming in, able to hit the W onto Honeybees, giving a little bit of a slow. However, Yumi's going to come back and return it just in time to get that range off, but Towers is going to be crashed into by the bot side here. There's going to be the dive right on in, able to hit the taunt, and now it's just an absolute bloodbath, and JXE able to shut down the opposing mid lane.
Great stuff coming out of the side of Ben Davis High School. Another great rotation there from JXE there, going to immediately pivot over to grab those first 3 grubs as well. This is a deep trade up top side of the map. Random Spade, you are going to win this one with the static charges on top of you. Me Above All just going to be able to rain down with those auto attacks to pick up another one. And this is the Ben Davis that we were expecting.
Ben Davis, after a rough start, able to kind of just immediately bounce back. And now Penn League of Legends, they're in such a rough spot. They're down 2k gold already. There's going to be the turret plates starting to crumble. And immediately the Void Grubs are going to go over in the favor of Ben Davis High School already too. There's the 3 Void Grubs. It looks like Penn League of Legends is going to be able to even it out with the dragon. But we'll see whether or not that's going to be enough. Oh, actually, this could be a good position coming in here. There's a Mr. Above All, or Me Above All, sorry, right on top of the Scion. But there's just a phenomenal position being taken and a dive throughout the bot lane to give Penn League of Legends an even greater deficit.
It's interesting that the Nautilus in this situation didn't want to further engage upon the Yuumi. Had the flash and the ignite available, could have used their passive in order to get a stun. Now, in the 1v1 versus Mr. Blue Bandit, they are going to whiff their hook. I don't know why the Smolders are rotating up. This is a dead bug if they wanted to move off the wave. Unfortunately, that's going to be another one picked up by Penn League of Legends. So this isn't a perfect game or anything like that. Ben Davis clearly still has things to develop.
Ben Davis, they're not having the greatest performance when it comes to their bot lane, with so far a rough start for the Nautilus. 2 deaths immediately, but Smolder at 56 CS, wanting to keep on building the stacks. We'll see whether or not they even need to scale to the 225 mark, but you look over at the mid lane here, we do see the wave starting to go in the favor of Penn League of Legends, starting to crash down a little bit, ulting at full HP. Ben Davis not going to find much uncomfort there, but the taunt comes through. There's going to be even more damage, forcing this Malzahar to go right on back to the spawn.
I think that for the time being, 1-9 will be able to stay in lane, play at range versus the Galio, but certainly that was an irresponsible utilization of the ult under Inkay's tower. Not going to get a whole lot out of that. In fact, we see just how much damage is traded right back. I also do kind of quickly want to put a pin in the bot side. We did note that there's clearly things for Ben Davis to develop on, but this is still an insane lead for the Smolder. We aren't looking at them in comparison to the Malzahar. We're looking at them in comparison to the Lux, who's at 17 CS and has not bought an item.
Yeah, the Lux at a very rough position right now, to say the least, as you just mentioned. And you go over to the top lane here. It seems like another kill can come out with the stun right in hand. There's going to be me above all finding that next kill. And at some point, you got to wonder, when is it going to be enough? Obviously, 4 deaths is not nearly what you want to be at if you are Penwood.
Cherry, I just noticed the Yuumi does not have a support item.
Oh. I did not notice that, not gonna lie to you, but that definitely is interesting. Mom gets called on down, and if they're gonna capitalize on that no support item in a very dominant fashion, there's the second kill for the Smolder at 9 minutes.
Wait, the Malzahar just bought a World Atlas. I don't know what's happening here, but we could be seeing a very interesting macro call from Penn League of Legends where they may let the Yuumi farm a lane or something like that.
I mean, it doesn't seem to be the case, since the Yuumi is still in bot side with the Lux coming down once more. And as we see, the Malzahar has nobody to support in sight. So, I mean, it definitely is an interesting call to give somebody the World Atlas is definitely a good idea. But Smite's going to come down. There's going to be the ult coming in from the Yuumi, but both are going to fall. And they're actually going to give the kill to the support. And me above all finding out the Kazakhs to close out the team fight.
Malzahar just teleported back into their own base. I'm so confused.
This is a game, that's for sure. There's gonna be the Scion ult, able to go through, flashing out. Me above all, not gonna take any damage from the axe, and instead they're just gonna be able to keep on farming towards the top side with not a lot of health in hand. They're not going to have too much of an issue with it though, as we see the Kazakhs not really anywhere close, and they don't have a lot of info on them, so they might start to get a little bit weary soon enough, especially since there is going to be an opportunity for the Kazakhs to find me above all if they are able to get towards the top side in time. But me above all taking a ton of damage. Will they be able to shut down the Scion in time? That's the question. Missing the first auto attack, and now we're seeing the future unfold. Kazakhs pushing right on up. Will me above all be able to find anything? Ooh,
trying to look for the revenge kill. Actually picks them off with the juke as well. Still not dead. Here comes the turnaround. And the ult from Inkay to clean things up in favor of Ben Davis High School. As bot side, we see the Lux die for a 4th time. Tower popped. This one is as good as over.
Yeah, it's a very unfortunate situation. A little bit of a bait play potentially was in play, but little YY able to find out the next kill, taking down the Yuumi under tower, thinking you're safe and finding this Smolder right on top. You can't get past the dragon. And now Jixie right on back, hitting the ultimate, going to be hit by the tower right in time. 2 tower shots, going to find the kill, and it's immediately going to keep going in the favor of Ben Davis High School.
Well, this could be a speed run for sure. 12 minutes in, this is a very deep play by the Nautilus, but able to walk to that midpoint between the 2nd and 3rd turrets should be enough to burst down Honeybee, who still has not bought an item.
And next kill coming out, unable to secure the Yuumi. There's going to be the Kazakhs coming down to the bot side, but unable to find a real damage. Going to back off, retreat into the jungle as soon as they feel the pressure. And that is little YY, who already has so much built up with the Boots of Swiftness. With their first item online, Trinity Force going to give so much damage, but a steal coming through. And Penn able to get the dragon, giving them their 2nd of the match, looking to put themselves at number 3, as we see Infernal Drag is going to be the dragon of choice here. We'll see whether or not that's going to be coming in choice, but looks like a new engagement's coming right on up.
Big taunt. That's going to force the barrier. Unfortunately, Dredge Line from the Nautilus is going to go wide still. This is a 3-stack onto a dying tower. Malzahar got to be careful. Wants to apply their flame passive. Needs to walk back right now. Otherwise, they risk dying. Looks like they will eventually respect this shove coming out of Ben Davis. As yet again, we look back onto the top side. Me above all, getting the stun off. And look at the damage coming out. Random Spade unable to answer back. This is a tank who is getting melted. Notably, has only built armor boots, so basically has no resistances against this cannon, and one more skill shot straight through the tower will pop the passive.
Yeah, 18 kills on the board. Objective bounties coming through. Rift Herald is online, and it does seem like the Kazakhs is going to be in the position to try and take this, especially with the Malzahar able to rotate on top. But will they have that mental fortitude to calm to each other, that they need that support? They need to be able to double up, because as soon as Me Above All comes on down to the pit, they could be in a heap of trouble. There's going to be the rotate coming through, but it does seem like it's going to be cleaned up real quick.
Yeah, rough rotation there coming out of 1-9. Just going to die to Little YY for another time. 6-0-3 on the Smolder this early into the game spells doom for any team, particularly one as scattered as Penn League of Legends is right now, as that is going to be the Lux dying, and the Yuumi is sure to follow as well. At least eat the biscuits, please, Honeybee.
Unfortunate situation. 3 biscuits have already been built up. There's no items in the hand, and you're in such a rough situation. Only 29 CS. There's going to be the Herald getting shut down by the looks of it, and they want to end this off early by taking that one. They don't want this being taken by anyone else. Looks like Mr. Blue Bandit, though, going to come in for the smite potentially. There's a phenomenal dive on top, but it's just not enough. They, above all, able to close it out, and now we just see Ben Davis looking to close out the game.
And it's only 15 minutes into this one. No real ability to get a Baron push going. Don't even know if it's necessary, though. Every single member is just incredibly strong, and we just saw 1-9 Cadril himself canceling the Malzahar ult, and now going to get pincered here by JXE and Little YY. Can't even get to the blast plant in time. This is a 7-0-3 Smolder, absolutely on pace to take over this game. Top side of the map, Sion doing what they can to try to stop a shove coming through from the cannon, but in the meantime, Blue Squad is just kind of auto-pathing down bot again. Someone needs to stop this Rift Herald in the mid lane.
Immediately, the Rift Herald coming right on down. Mr. Blue Bandit trying to play safe, but unable to find real damage with so many people crashing down on the wave. There's going to be the engagement from Little YY coming in. Nautilus using that hook, unable to find the player. Instead, going to just go right onto the tower. 2 players remaining to contest here. We'll see whether or not they're going to be able to find anything. There's going to be the Malzahar playing a little bit too aggressive. There's the ult coming in from the Nautilus over on Ben Davis, and it's going to get instantly cleaned up. 24 kills on the board. They're looking to close this out early. If first inhibitor's down, can they secure the next with 4 Void Grubs on the table? There's going to be knockup coming through. Mom gets called out. Resurrection's available after the death. Going to try and target the Nautilus, but the Nautilus is going to run right into the tower, only taking 2 shots. But there's Penn with nobody remaining except for these 2 remaining players. Can they find this comeback?
I don't know if there's any potential at a comeback. I'll be 100% honest with you, Cherry. And we do, in fact, see that little glitch that occasionally happens when the client forces itself open. That implies that we got an end of a game coming our way. We still hear in the background that we got some action going, so hopefully we could swap back over to that, and we are going to watch these towers fall. Nice hook there from the Nautilus to help set up on the back of the Galio. Sion back up, looking to get what damage down that he can, but still, he only has armor, boots, and a single longsword. Can't do anything with that, as this Nexus turret is looking to fall. Flash forward, going to be traded. Little YY just going to step backwards. Nautilus gets out of there with the dredge line, and maybe we have one more fight on our hands, but Ben Davis is well poised to take this, almost lapping the field in terms of gold versus Penn League of Legends.
Yeah, Penn League of Legends are having a difficult time even attempting to take these minions, and it's just a rough situation with no items being bought for some of these players, with only 1 for the Yuumi. Still, however, it is such a weird, just in general, composition that we're seeing here with the Sion only having those steel cap boots. We do see a little bit of lethality coming out from the jungler over at Penn, which could definitely give some kind of bonus, especially since you do get some speed with that. But, you know, the Gumiyoshi's, it just doesn't seem to be enough. But especially, it's interesting seeing that Ben Davis, they're still going to be respecting Penn, and they're not just going to go and try and end right off the bat. They're instead going to be taking the Infernal Drake and getting that little bit of ability power to continually push forward off of that. We see some split pushing coming in from the top side, a little bit of damage poking through. We'll see if Penn League of Legends is able to find any type of safety here. There's the ult coming in from the Malzahar, but immediately going to be taken off the board.
I don't really know what to say at this point. I think for me, like I said, it's all just about learning experiences here, Cherry J. But what I'm kind of frustrated about with Penn is that they aren't even, say, telling the Lux on voice comms to open the shop to buy something. They are just kind of letting everybody do their own thing, and in turn, we see what comes out of that. Dazed and Confused are going to try to engage for what looks like a 2v5, and they will, in fact, fall from it alongside the last turret of the game. First one going the way of Ben Davis High School.
Yeah, Ben Davis, they're going to be able to close it out 29-3 on the kills immediately at 19 minutes 38. They're going to end up instantly demolishing this lobby.
Whew. That was a rough showing for sure. Penn League of Legends have a lot to adapt and grow from, and I don't necessarily think that this is a matter now of figuring out how you're going to win the next game. It is about hopefully tamping down on some of the stuff that we saw coming out of them to improve for future matches. And first thing that comes to mind here is that people need to be buying more. Lux not starting the game with any items except for a potion, I think, and then not using that potion nor the biscuits that they are being delivered via the runes means that they were basically doing nothing there on the bot side of the map, and Yuumi didn't go for a support item to start things off, which made it impossible for Penn to ever assert themselves on the map to get any vision. Credit to 1-9 for trying to turn things around. They actually bought that World Atlas, but it took so long for it to tick over because they were still stuck in a solo lane. Like I said, I thought maybe we could see Happy Foxy Sherd try to go in and maybe I don't know, farm a lane as solo Yuumi, but that never came to pass, and so 1-9 was just kind of sitting there dying over and over again. And look at everything on the map, right? The damage count, the ways that people were set up, the death, the gold, all of it went in favor of Ben Davis High School Varsity. But notably at the same time, Cherry, it isn't like they are without reproach as well. There's clearly stuff for them to work on.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, there was the play where their Smolder was farming bot lane while their Nautilus was getting destroyed by the enemies, and they were just like 2 steps away from being able to secure a kill, but instead they were farming the lane. There was other plays that just didn't make sense. They were playing way too aggressive at the start, with it being the cause for their Nautilus's first death, and it really did seem like, there was a chance for Penn to be able to make that upset happen, shut down Ben Davis High School, but instead it was just a rough situation. But they were able to come out on top and able to secure the round win going into game number 2. We'll see if Penn has any kind of comeback that they have in store for us. Potentially, we're going to be seeing that Luck start buying items, but we're just going to have to wait and see.
Absolutely. Like I said, even if it's a little bit too dicey to calm during the game itself, and that is something a lot of people are working on, there is this lag time in between games 1 and 2 where Penn needs to tell their Lux, Honeybee, please buy your items. You have so much gold just sitting there. I would also say, I'm not exactly sure what the dynamic is between them and the support, but Foxy maybe could swap with them. Have the Lux go support, where you do less harm by A, being pushed back on CS, and B, not buying items, versus this Yuumi, which was able to shop and was actually building towards, I believe, a Staff of Flowing Water to start them off.
Yeah, it did seem like it, and that is definitely a main thing that you kind of have to worry about, is being able to really swap roles, especially when it comes down to these rough situations where you have your bot lane just not having that experience that you want on a player, and especially when they're going to have to be the one with the Yuumi on them. That kind of gives even more pressure, since you have nobody to really help you in that scenario. It is all up to you to play your game and be able to utilize the Yuumi abilities to your fullest, and it just didn't seem like they were able to.
Absolutely. A lot of stuff to develop on. Ben Davis, I think, also was struggling a bit with just warding and setting up vision. We saw things such as the Kazakhs being able to solo Dragon and then steal a second Dragon after that. That really shouldn't happen when you're that far ahead. This should be a matter of people being put on zoning duty. We should see the Nautilus roaming a little bit more into enemy territory to get down your wards. And from there, I really think that this next one is going to be Ben Davis gunning for a full-on shutout victory, while Penn League of Legends is looking to at least get everybody to a position where they're at least playing the game.
Yeah, that is the main thing. You want to be able to get into a better spot, but Ben Davis, they're going to be coming right on in, locking in the Brand as their first opening pick. Going on the side of Penn, however, they're going to start banning off some of the picks that were brought in from the previous game with the Udyr, with the Smolder. Going to pick up the Ahri in example for something to change potentially. We'll see if this is going to be flexed in the bot lane. I hope it's not. Hopefully, it's going to be in the mid, and even potentially as a support, it wouldn't be a horrible pick. But we'll see what the idea is going to be behind this pen pick.
Yeah, you don't want to see Prusia being channeled. Interesting pickup here. Looks like we won't be seeing Prusia, as that is going to be a Yuumi for Pen. Going to just go back to, I think, the same strategy as before, as Ben Davis are going to jam a Leona alongside the Brand.
Also, I wouldn't be surprised if this is Brand bot. It has been starting to get towards a meta where those bot laners can be played as mages, and especially with the, oh, never mind, that's most likely going to be either that mid or jungle, while the Draven's going to be locked in, probably supporting the Leona. Definitely looking to get a strong engage with these two bot laners. Luck's going to be locked in as well. So far, we have 3 mages on the table. And Ben Davis, they have a really good composition being brought out right now. We'll see what these next bans will entail. If you want to opt in for a Kennen ban from Pen, definitely going to be something that could be strong. They're going to go with the Galio. I really like this. That magic shield was definitely a crucial part of Ben Davis's game plan coming into that game, looking to close out a lot of the magic brought against Pen with that shield. We'll see what Ben Davis is going to ban out. There's the Mordekaiser, going with the same thing as the previous game. So far, we haven't seen a top lane ban, or not ban, sorry, top lane pick from Ben Davis or Pen. So we'll see what they do to opt in for there. And so far, we have seen a lot of top laners getting banned out. However, Ben Davis, they've been really trying to farm away from the jungle with that Kayn, Morgana, and the Viego taken offline. Final ban is going to be on that Darius or Pen, looking to, oh, nope, they're going instead for the Kennen. And Ben Davis, how do you decide to respond to this? Do you ban a top laner of your own? Do you go for another jungler to really just knock out anything that Pen could try and throw your way? Let's see how they decide to go for it.
I think any of those options are fine. If anything, Ben Davis shouldn't be worrying too much about the bans here. They should really just be looking to get the most solid composition possible to really showcase their skills. We're getting a lot of returns to old favorites for Pen. It's going to be Sion actually topside again, and then what is going to be a novel and new matchup. What I do like with this Kennen ban is that really limits the pool of characters that Ben Davis's topside can jam at range, and I really do think that it was the range versus melee matchup that was bringing them so much value. So we are going to see a pivot over to the Renekton. This is going to be a lot more skill testing, I think, at least on that part of the map.
Yeah, the final pick, this is going to really decide if it is the Brand jungle, Brand mid, and we'll see what Ben Davis is going to choose instead. And yes, it's going to be that Brand in the jungle role with the Aurelion Soul being picked up for the mid lane. Control mages definitely going to be strong against that Ahri or Lux, depending on if they do decide to flex some of these picks in other lanes. Now, what will Pen decide to lock in for their jungler coming up against this Brand? Definitely not the pick that is the most insane, but a Silas. They're going full out on these mages, huh?
I don't know if that's a good idea. You just don't have any AD damage on your side, and frankly, you were struggling for damage of any kind during the last game, so Pen really probably need to just check out a few videos, checking both the meta as well as typical draft lines, but I'm a little bit worried for their ability to build off towards the goals that I set for them in the second game.
Yeah, I mean, the Silas really does need to start carrying, and there's not even a lot of ultimates that can really be grabbed with it in a very proficient way either, since a lot of these don't do a whole ton in just some you can set up with it very easily. Obviously, Draven, it takes a lot to really be able to get some good damage off with the ultimate. Leona, similar thing, but the Leona and Aurelion Soul ults do very similar things in general, so we'll see whether or not those are going to cause any real differences. Brand, a little bit of an interesting pick. We'll see how well that's going to work out for them. Obviously, Brand jungle, not what you usually expect, but it is definitely an interesting pick coming right on out against a Silas. Not the most overwhelming, not the most underwhelming. Silas has definitely gotten some decent picks in the jungle with some of its damage in against those jungle monsters being increased recently in I believe it was 3 or 4 patches ago when that did happen. So we'll see whether or not this stylist pick is going to be enough to find some first blood. And something you also got to realize is that we did see a lot of over-aggression from the support of this Ben Davis squad. So potentially if the Leona gets called out here, it does have a little bit more tankiness than the Nautilus, at least in my opinion. So there is definitely going to be some room for a little bit of misplay for the Leona coming into this draft.
Yeah, but you're alongside a Draven, and I did not see any reason to doubt YY's abilities. They seemed incredibly strong, perhaps the center point of the entirety of the Ben Davis roster. And now you're up against a team where I'm not seeing any answer to if this Draven gets started early. This is going to be perhaps more destructive than game number 1. I do want to note on the side of Penn is that they are doing something interesting here, putting 1-9 onto the Yuumi. Notably, 1-9 was the Malzahar in the last game and actually went for that late World Atlas. So it could be a full lane swap. Happy Foxy's Herds actually going up into the mid.
And definitely interesting, actually. But that is kind of odd to see 2 players opting for a Yuumi pick during this matchup. Definitely not something that you would expect on the day-by-day basis for the average team, but it is definitely a character that can be piloted easily. I am just saying that you probably could have picked something like the Nautilus that we just saw and find a little bit more value, or potentially something with a little bit less just general engaged than the Nautilus, but more actual value than what you would normally see from a Yuumi. You could potentially go with that Lux support with something like maybe a Seraphine. There's so many picks that can just find general value by existing and just throwing in abilities than something like a Yuumi. But unfortunately, they're gonna see that in full display in this matchup most likely.
Well, Cherry, how's your day going? I got nothing else to say about this draft. I think that you laid it out in perfect terms. Ben Davis in real place of advantage. Penn stacking mages on top of mages on top of mages. There's just really no pathway to victory that I see for them. So once again, we are looking back at those learning experiences. If Honeybee builds items, I will be happy.
Yeah, I think that that's the main thing here. You kind of just need to understand the game a little bit better than what we did see coming into match number 1 here. But we're going straight on in. And to answer your question, my day, it has been swell. Got to watch a little bit of anime earlier, but immediately Penn League of Legends coming up in game number 2. They're on the ropes, trying to make this a tied scoreline of 1-1. But both these teams dropping in Summoner's Rift here. We'll see whether or not an invade's going to be coming out, and it looks like the answer is going to be yes, with this Leona and Draven pushed up a little bit here. But instead, the jungler of the side of Ben Davis will not agree and instead go towards their red buff to try and find a path downwards on the jungle to find their opening.
What anime were you watching?
Oh, I was watching Hunter x Hunter.
Oh, there we go. 1999 or the 2011 version?
Oh, 2011. I'm rewatching it for the second time. Looking forward to it. Currently on season 5, Chimera Ant's storyline.
Oh,
definitely
gotcha.
a fun one.
Yeah, for sure. And we are going to be back into the game. Thought we may have had a pause or something like that, hence opening that can of worms. I like the 99 version, oddly enough, but I also am a big Yu Yu Hakusho fan. I think it's better than Hunter x Hunter, so make of that what you will. But yeah, no actual invades coming out early on in this one. There is the potential. One of the big things to learn for the future, just in case Penn is VOD reviewing, is that you really want to put Honeybee into perhaps that Tribush, if not up near the Silas that is actually going into the jungle role here. Because one dynamic that you really need to watch out for is the ability for a team to just kind of walk straight up there and look for picks by going towards the red buff. So we'll see whether or not that's something that they're going to be able to adapt for regarding the rest of this IEN season. Because one of the big things to note, Cherry, is that we're right at the start of this entire thing. Now, taking a look back across these lanes, so far things going about as expected here. Like the aggressive posturing coming out of me above all, trying to go for a deep trade. Not exactly sure where Random Spade was going in that situation, trying to get the shield pop to clear out some of the enemy minions, but now they're in an awkward position where they can't actually afford to auto attack back, and because of that, it's the first blood set up solo bolo by me above all.
Oh,
I need a flash.
They don't flash?
I don't know why they didn't flash that. Well,
that
consolation prize
certainly
for
wasn't
Random Spade, never mind. I really thought that was just going to be a full-on disaster given what the wave position was, but me above all, playing conservatively with that summoner spell. Not going to have that available. Will be able to teleport back while Random Spade decides to not use that. So there is still a wave advantage here for the Renekton, but giving that gold to Random Spade doesn't make a whole lot of sense in my eyes.
Yeah, something I'm kind of looking here is it is definitely a better than match number 1 in terms of the buys, with the Yuumi having that World Atlas. Definitely an improvement based on the last game. And something else we kind of have to note is that the Ruby Crystal will be bought for Happy Foxtrot. So it is definitely an interesting idea, going to try and opt in for a little bit more sustainability rather than damage, with some extra HP coming through. However, we look at the top side here, it's actually not looking that bad for Pen, which is kind of surprising based on the performance of the previous matchup. So coming into this, some damage is going to come through from the turret over towards the side of Ben Davis, getting a little bit of damage onto the Aurelion. So will they be able to invade towards Mr. Blue Bandit, who has around half HP? But we go over to the top side, Mr. Above All, me Above All, going to get so much damage, but it looks like this could be the end. Happy Bee looking to get taken off the board, and there's so much HP taken offline.
Yeah, will probably just have to back Mr. Blue Bandit with an incredibly hard engage, going for the flash. Me Above All says, I'm going to take this 2v1. One more auto. We'll be able to pick it up. Tied back by Random Spade, but still crazy call there by the Croc to not just walk away.
Yeah, able to take a second kill, shutting down the jungler, making them wait a little bit longer to keep on farming in their territory. But Mr. Foxtrot going to take a little bit of damage from the Aurelion Soul, but not enough to really stabilize towards that 50% mark, getting an advantage. There's going to be some utility dropped in the Q and E from the Ahri over towards the side of Pen. Will they be able to farm well without either of those abilities? That's the question. But immediately you look at the gold lead, and it's already starting to favor Ben Davis like crazy, with over a 1,000 gold lead already being established. It really is just Ben Davis's game to win, and Penn needs to do some kind of hero play to stop that. But as of now, I mean, they just don't seem to have an answer to anything that the Ben Davis squad is throwing at them.
And I think in order to gain an answer, you need to start farming better. But right now, last hits are not Penn's friend. Nobody except for the Silas has crested over even 20 CS, and that's the jungler.
And the jungler, and that's the same person who has already been found out and gotten killed. Honeybee going to get stunned up, and there's going to be the opening kill. Little YY able to get that first one. Definitely going to be good for the bot lane over at Ben Davis, able to really start their mark. As we saw last game, they had a little bit of a rougher time going about. Stun comes through in the top lane, going to find a little bit of damage, but not enough. There's a little bit of a slow to stabilize that, and potentially a kill going to come out, but the healing is still there. Not able to find anything. Random Spade going to back up a little bit here. Dash comes through. There's going to be the stun ulting right on in, and Me Above All finds the kill.
You know, Random Spade had the potential to turn that around. Might actually still be able to get the fadeaway kill here. It looks like Me Above All has the movement speed to get out from under the Scion passive. But you could have charged forward there if you had just stayed with the lane a little bit more. And that's where those early deaths start to come back to bite you. Not sure exactly what the call is here for the brand trying to solo. Gonna have the flash forced out of them by Mr. Blue Bandit on the rotation. You have Prio from Little YY and the Leona. But for some reason, we aren't seeing the rotation out of those two champions while JXEY was trying to take this.
A good position immediately here. There's going to be the brand going to try and force out some damage, but a little bit of just some good misplays from this Penn squad, going to give over the dragon. But as we've seen, Mr. Blue Bandit has been very proficient at taking steals. With that happening in the previous game, we'll see if they're going to be able to do it once more. However, they're going to be completely opting away from it, instead going over towards the red buff, taking that instead. And immediately, we're going to be seeing that Cloud Drake getting taken, but it's going to be traded for a couple plates over towards the bot side here, with the Lux and Yuumi combining their overall power and able to get some good damage off. However, the Leona unable to catch them off guard with some stuns early on, so instead they're going to be able to back off just in the nick of time. Penn, however, they're still looking a little bit dangerous over towards the top side. Root comes through with 3 people still down here. There's definitely potential for a dive on the bot lane tower.
Just looking like Brand wants that smoke. Instead, they're just going to take the reset. Me above all, top side of the map, actually going to trade under the tower here against Random Spade. Taking a lot of damage, actually, from the shield pop, plus second tower shot. Bot side, now we are going to see the Zenith Blade land, and little YY should be able to clean this one up. Doesn't quite have the damage, actually dropped an axe there off the ult. Will be able to get the fade away. Incredible stuff to send Honeybee packing for a second time, and yet again, we're looking at Lutz without an item.
A phenomenal situation, and immediately you look at the gold line again. We do see that keeps on expanding. Mr. Blue Bandit gonna keep on farming. We don't see a lot of differences here, but the HP line very similar in the top lane. A little bit of a slow coming out, diving right on into the Scion. Stun comes through. There's a little bit more damage. Getting that shield online, ulting on the other side though. Me above all looking to get even more damage. However, going to be forced to back off when they get under turrets. The Brand's right on there though. A little bit of damage coming in from the Aurelion Soul in the mid lane. Getting that W off, hitting all three, but there's the dive. Stun comes through. There's going to be the dash right on in, but me above all, showing why they're above all. And Random Spade not going to taken out for granted, and instead able to get the trade-off.
Yeah, me above all needs to play a little bit more wisely. A lot of the gold that is being injected back into Penn League of Legends is through topside, getting these kills via Scion passive. I think that in some of the cases here, it is better to just try to fully starve the Scion of any amount of gold whatsoever. Don't let them crest towards that first item, even if that means they can't push your advantage quite as hard. You, if you're able to just get slow pushes going, will be able to pull value your way. Mr. Blue Bandit, notably, gonna be able to smite away one of these grubs. Joey, with no help, once again, me above all comes in, but it might be too little too late. It looks like this will be a consolation kill for the Renekton, but still, I don't know why we didn't see EK or the Croc get there in time.
And coming up towards the grubs here, we do see Random Spade trying to get some kind of steal on him, but it's not going to happen. There's the stun coming in. Me above all going to try and get this Scion away from the grubs that they're walking right on by. Ulting up the Aurelion Soul, unable to get some good damage off, but drive by right on top of Random Spade. And me above all able to close out the kill. And Random Spade in the Scion passive just going to be found out once more, getting a little bit of damage, not enough, however. And that's going to make 2 grubs for Ben Davis High School.
Well, it's 10 minutes into the game, and notably, this is not quite as over as the first one was, so Penn League of Legends has improved in some marked ways. I got very excited about the fact that we actually saw Honeybee buy the boots, now all the way up to the Sorcerer's Shoes. This is good. You need that magic penetration, notably, because everybody on the side of Ben Davis is almost doubtlessly going to start building some amount of MR. We already see the Tenacity boots come through for the Leona.
Yeah, I mean, something that is actually very good is the fact that they have that Dorn's Ring this time instead of just some potions. There's going to be the dash right into the Aurelion Soul, but the Aurelion Soul is going to be able to close it out, and that's Happy Shard off the board once more. Not a great position whatsoever. Diving on in, Leona able to hit some good damage. Ignite comes through, and everyone keeps on diving.
Top side of the map. That is going to be Random Spade getting their passive pop, going to fall, and this time me above all gets out, even if it costs the flash. Now the Yuumi, not too safe on the bot side alone, going to get dove. 1-9 off the board is now me above all. It's taking a lot of damage here from these minions. Is actually going to get shut down by the Silas. A big injection of gold coming through for Penn League of Legends, but you see that right now Ben Davis has crested the 20K milestone. Penn League of Legends isn't even at 15.
Yeah, some good turret plate damage coming out on the side of Ben Davis towards the bot lane. Able to get down to the second, not able to close out the the fourth plate. We'll see whether or not they're going to be able to make some kind of return here for Penn with the Lux back in lane. But it looked like the Leona was opting for a play, but instead going to back off just in time, relying on the info that they gained from last game to carry them into the next here. Hoppy Foxjar trying to get some damage off, but instead we're seeing some back play coming through, diving towards their own tower, but shooting while doing so. Dash comes through, Random Spirit down to Random Spade, going to try and keep on going. An interesting play to say the least, but the dive comes through and a meteor to close it out, and Happy Foxshred off the board, looking to take the next tower, but potentially going to be stolen by this Silas right on in, and they're not going to get it this time.
Big traded ultimates here. The Solar Flare, not enough. Mr. Blue Bandit cannot get a kill. They are just going to sacrifice themselves on the hero play. Now it's 2 dragons stacked in favor of Ben Davis High School, providing yet another win condition for them. Bot side of the map, Draven's approach is going to be hit by the Lux Q. That could be enough to try to stabilize at least for one of these players. 1-9 gets out under the tower, but here comes the Draven ultimate. Without boots, the Yuumi is in fact going to fall.
In the League of Draven passive, it's definitely getting to the point where it's going to be hard to stop at a 5-kill to assist lead. It's just so insane to think about how this game has only been 13 minutes in, and it already seems like Penn is already just fallen so far, with almost all of the kills being on the top lane for Penn. And immediately they are going to keep on engaging. Random Spade looking to find some damage. However, they're going to be able to get just that, which is surprising, seeing as the fact that Me Above All has not shown to be scared of going under tower at all. It does seem like this time they are going to be opting out of it and instead just sitting back. It could potentially be because their ultimate isn't at the place that they want it to be. However, it is online, so it is interesting seeing them not dive under the tower.
A little bit of a dodge coming out. Random Spade now in a whole lot of trouble. Caught right into the blender. That passive popped immediately. Mr. Blue Bandit wants nothing to do with the situation, but notably, Random Spade is actually going to corral the Croc down. Dominus forced down. Me Above All going to be able to clean up near the brink of death. Mr. Blue Bandit has to flash to get out to safety. Inkay is dead yet again, and I don't know why the Silas wants to smoke. They are down 3 levels.
Yeah, for some reason, Mr. Blue Bandit going to go in, but they're going to be able to find some good damage and actually find the kill.
Impressive stuff. I guess I was wrong. Joey getting there in time to ensure that that was not going to go wholly the way of the Silas. But 3 levels down, I am shocked that Me Above All was not able to close that out. Maybe a canceled auto here and there could have been the answer, but that Dominus did so much to stabilize.
And the first tower going in the favor of the mid lane, then the second going down to the bot lane, looking to continually build up this lead. Root comes through, going to be able to connect onto the Leona. However, we still see each and every lane getting dominated and pushed through by each player. The only one that still stands is going to be the top tier 1 tower. And you look at the other side of this jungle, we do see that Herald about to be taken by the looks of it, with a lot of people opting in right on top of it. Mr. Blue Bandit looking to get the steal, but unfortunately, there's so much damage going to be pushed right on top of him, diving in right on top of this insanely powerful jungle and mid lane duo. Red team is going to be able to take it. That's Ben Davis for the Herald and for the kill. Root comes through. There's going to be the sun coming right on down, and it's just going to be Honeybee taken offline, and it's all done now with the double kill coming in from the Draven ult.
Yeah, this is actually just over. I was a little bit optimistic that Penn League of Legends could have prolonged this game, but the spate of deaths, time and time again, just means that there's really no way back into this anymore. Me Above All, top side of the map, giving up 5 deaths, and it doesn't matter. This Scion has been unable to push up into the enemy tower. I think that it may still be at 100% health. Me Above All, meanwhile, going to be able to take this tier 1 and start that mega push that never ended in the last game. We're going to see whether or not Penn can at least try to put a stop to this here and now.
Yeah, Penn League of Legends, they still have a chance. They're going to need to rely on Mr. Blue Bandit for this to work in their favor, though. There's going to be that Aurelion Soul ultimate completely diverged away from Mr. Blue Bandit. Gonna push right on in, and with the support from the Ahri, they potentially have a chance, but now the Brand coming right on in, able to get the kill, but it's going to be traded out. There's going to be the shutdown. Jixie able to get down in the dirt and find out the opposing jungler with that burn, and it's all gonna be the Leona, and Ben Davis High School closes out another team fight.
It's impressive to see that the support for Ben Davis actually seems to be more accurate with Zenith Blade than they were with Dredgeline, as the teleport bot side of the map is going to feed Me Above All yet another kill. 1-9 able to get out towards the tower, but still, even at this small of health, I feel like Me Above All may still want to just push the button. They have the Dominus available and may not even need it, as this is going to be 1-9 with an incredible flank, blowing up the Yuumi with the help of the Renekton.
It definitely seems like Leona is going to be their character to play and to dominate with. The Nautilus was good, but this is better.
One thing to note, if they are listening, you can use your Q to reset your autos there on the tower. Looks like they did it right there at the very end, so good on them for just getting all that little extra value. I'm kind of surprised the Rectin didn't stay around to take down that tier 2, but regardless, they're back up healthy and now pushing towards the top side as a third dragon goes the way of Ben Davis.
Ben Davis, they keep on pushing on Soul Point, but it really does beg the question, does it even matter? As of now, we see Ben Davis with such an advantage, such a strong play. There's going to be the Scion looking to get taken off the board once more, and that's going to be the kill. Me above all going to be in a rough situation, though, and they're still going to keep on fighting despite being in a 2v1 situation. Me above all goes in and prevails once more. The tier 3 turret in the mid lane gets taken offline, and Penn League of Legends, they seem to be on the back foot of everything, and they're not going to have a chance at bringing it forward.
Not at all. Unfortunately, outside of those kills that almost always come at the cost of 2 in favor of Ben Davis, none of the other players outside of the Silas nor the Scion have found any respite in this game, as we see what a trooper this Ahri is, just walking forward, but Foxy's Herd is going to be able to do absolutely nothing, as now, I'm not exactly sure where the Lux thought they were going, but they are certainly going to be put back to the fountain regardless.
Yeah, there's going to be the team fight coming in. Double kill comes out from the Draven. There's NK able to take out Ramspade. Triple kill comes through, and that's Little YY completely dominating the battlefield. There's no minions remaining, though, in Penn League of Legends. They're on the back foot of everything. Can they make the comeback with everyone dead? Looking to have this Ahri make the plays, make the diverge into this comeback. But with so much damage going to be sprung right on through, they can't get enough of it.
Yeah, I was going to say, to your rhetorical question there, Cherry, no, they cannot come back. This should be the end of it. Honeybee walks up, and right now it is just Penn League of Legends staggering into the red squad time and time again. And in fact, even the Silas may not be able to make it back towards the fountain off that brand stun. Looks like they will be given a brief respite and an attempt for a re-engage here, but Joey going to be able to stand the ground at no mana and no health. A big wave now shoving towards this final tower to end the series.
And you gotta ask yourselves, can you even be happy? It's been 20 minutes, a little bit longer than the last game, but 40 kills for the side of Ben Davis High School. It's not been great. It's not been fun, but Ben Davis High School, it will prevail once more. And Penn League Legends, they're going to be going down to an 0-2 scoreline.
Congratulations to Ben Davis High School for demonstrating why they are top contenders here in IEN, and most likely will be the people trying to push towards that grand finale here in the League of Legends world. Notably for the side of Penn, they definitely have things that they need to improve upon, but Cherry J, at the end of the day, it wasn't an awful performance in terms of their ability to improve as individual players. We saw that evolution, right? Lux bought items. We saw 1-9 actually pivot over to the support role and actually picked up that World Atlas early. This is a very different look from game 1 to game 2, and in fact, that was going to be something that I wanted to mention. Yeah, it's 20 minutes. Yeah, it's 40 kills, but 20 minutes is certainly greater than what we saw to them in the last game. If you continue that onwards, eventually, I think a dub is in their future.
Absolutely, a phenomenal scoreline from them to 2-0, 4-0 lead. Ben Davis, you gotta be happy there. The varsity team gonna have a strong showing in future matches to come, most likely. Obviously, 40 kills definitely is 40 kills. But, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be back with you on Tuesday for Overwatch 2 on the IEN channel. Make sure to stay tuned for that. But that's been it from us. Thank you to Nyarko for joining us tonight and watching these two teams clash it out. Thank you for the production team along with us for the ride. But, ladies and gentlemen, catch you all later. See you then.